First of all, you were one of the last promoters to actually cancel or postpone your shows, but you were also one of the first to reschedule them. So just tell us what it's been like kind of organising all the logistics when no one really knows how long this is going to go on for.
Well, first of all, I think I was the first one to cancel the shows. If you look, we'd done it at least a month ago, 3-4 weeks ago. We moved the show we had. We never announced our show in Belfast. We didn't announce that, which we were going to do on the 13th of June. And we rescheduled our date for July, and that was based upon the fact that they said this thing was going to last for at least 10 weeks. And that gave us about a 6-week running to the 11th of July. So if that's what it is, I think Hearn announced last week he was moving all his shows to July. We did it quite a few weeks ago.
How confident are you that boxing will be back in full swing by July?
I'm not. How can anyone be confident about anything? Who knows what's going to be happening? And I don't think the government knows what's going on. No one in the world, no one from anywhere in the world can tell you what's going on. I mean, I was reading today that Denmark said that after Easter they're going to start letting people mix again. Maybe they will. In Sweden, the restaurants are still open, the schools are still open. They've closed the colleges. They're allowing people out to mix and so forth. So they've got a different take on how to deal with it. I've got no idea. All we can do in the UK is be guided by the government and their medical and scientific advisors. And as I say, the last information we based anything on was, as I just mentioned, was the fact that they were saying this was going to be tough for a good sort of 2 months or so. So, that's where we are. But I have got zero idea. I don't think anybody knows. If you did know, you'd make a lot of money in doing all sorts of different things. I know my friends in the music industry. I was talking to Neil Warnock, who's of the talent agency group. They pushed a lot of their concerts back to the end of the year and even next year. So it's tough times for everybody. But that's the least of anyone's worries. At the most, there are people at the moment who worry about their jobs, not worry about going to boxing.
How hard is it for the boxers kind of training for a date? I mean, the restrictions on training anyway are tough, but training for a date where they're not sure if it's going to happen, knowing when to peak and all that sort of stuff.
Well, it's tough on them. It's tough on everyone. It is what it is. Obviously, it's tough for them, but it's tough for everybody involved in it. You're trying to schedule things. You're trying to ensure that if an event does go on, you've got to make sure you've got all the safety aspects into place regarding medical. All medical aspects of it are covered, to make sure that you've got security in place, the police are aware of what's going on, so that's the most important thing. And obviously it is tough for the boxers, as you say, have got a peak, but that's the date we're working towards at the moment, and that's what it is. It's tough sometimes when a boxer's training for a fight and the opponent's pulled out and we've had to push fights back. That's the nature of the business. It's not a team business. It's all based upon the individual athlete, which in this case is a boxer.
And before all this started up, or before it became incredibly serious, we were looking at 4 boxing pay-per-view events within about 10 weeks. Only one of those, I should point out, was a Frank Warren show, of course. Now, with the lockdown and everything being bottlenecked to start up again, hopefully around June, July, it could be 4 pay-per-view events in an even shorter time frame. Is there anything you guys or the other side can do to kind of avoid that and shows clashing as well?
Look, you can't. The problem we got, the fights that were announced, I'm talking about my shows, the only way that show could go on pay-per-view, Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, was based upon it being pay-per-view. That's it. So that's where we are. We can't change that. That's the position we're in with it. That's the only way the guys will get paid. If you or somebody wants to say to the boxer, you take less money, then we can do it. But that ain't going to happen. And as regarding the other side's fighters, I should think it's the same situation. It is what it is. No one foresee this happening. It is what it is. And let me tell you something. If it wasn't for the fact these fights were pay-per-view, they wouldn't be happening. It's no one's dipping into anybody's pocket. That's the only way the fights can take place at this level. That's how it's been. That's how it's used to. Unless the boxers are going to take much, much less money. And why would they do that when they know there's a market there, or there was a market? We'll see if there's still a market there. I believe there is. But there's a market there for their services.
But could you guys, Matchroom or even BT and Sky, get together just to avoid dates clashing?
How can you do that? What are we going to do? You know, it is what it is. Like all the soccer matches, they're talking about finish the season playing 3 matches a week. It is what it is. It's got to settle down. You know, are you going to stop putting that your thing instead of IFL and some other thing all out on the same day? No, you're not, because you've got to get your wages like everyone else has. This idealistic society or environment that people think that we can all exist in does not exist. You know, you're not going to say to IFL, don't put your scoop out today and we'll put ours out tomorrow, and Boxing Social does this and Boxing Scene does that. It doesn't happen. That's the world you live in, and we all live in that world. You know, newspapers all print their newspapers the same day. It's your choice what you buy, what you want to read or you want to see.
So then, does it not bother you then when Matchroom announced their shows had moved? There's now one of theirs is now on the 11th of July, which is when you're going with Dubois Joyce.
Well, what can I do about it? You know, I announced my date. Must be a good 3 weeks ago now. What can I do? You know, that's what they've done. It's not I can't do it, and I ain't going to cancel my date. Unless the only way my date's getting cancelled if it can't be physically put on because of the problems with the virus and the medical aspects of it. That's the only way to get cancelled. I'm not moving my date. Why should I?
No, I agree. It's just a shame for fans, I guess, that they have to then make that choice.
It's a shame for fans, but you know, I did this. You know, it's not down to me. It is what it is. And as I say, you know, we're in a situation which is a unique situation, and unfortunately, what we've got to do, we're responsible for paying people's wages. We've got a staff to pay. Like other people have to do it. We're not laying our people off at the moment. We're paying their wages whilst this terrible thing's going on. So we've got to survive. So the only way we can survive is to ensure that we get events together when they can run, whenever we can get them on, so that we can pay the wages. Otherwise, they're going to be out of work. So that's my first consideration. And for the fighters who've not been able to work, who's supposed to fall whenever it was, not so much the top of the bill guys, they're getting well paid, but the guys on the undercard who've got no work, they've got bills to pay, they've got to look after their families. So that's the first consideration. That's where we're at, and the rest of it will settle down as the rest of the year goes on.
One of the things people kind of speculating on as a positive, if it can be called that, out of all this, is that when boxing does resume and there's a limited window to get everyone out before the end of the year, we should see bigger fights, better fights, and deeper cards. Do you go along with that?
I don't know. You know, we've got our dates. We've got to get away Cole Frampton's fight against Herring. We've got the fight up in Scotland with Josh. We've got quite a few shows to get away. I mean, they're shows that were already made and were already announced. You know, we postponed a show up in Scotland. We did that at the same time weeks ago. All those, that's where we're at. So we've got to get them away. Those shows have got to take place before anything else can take place.
And then you've got.
And as regarding the future, it'll just have to settle down. It's the same as any sport. But you know what? I don't think anybody gives a shit about what's happening in boxing at the moment, or a shit about footballers or anything. All they're worried about is their jobs and being able to pay and look after their families. And boxers are no different. They're in that same position. They've got to look after their families. I am. No, we don't get no grants or anything from or any associations. We're not like the Football Association. Everything we do is out of our own pocket. Win or lose, it's out of our own pocket. That's where we're at. And my job is, where I'm at, as soon as this is safe to run, we're getting out there, we're putting shows on to ensure that these guys get some financial security, as well as ourselves, and that we can pay our staff and our overheads.
I mean, you speak to the boxers quite regularly. How tough has it been for them from a financial perspective so far?
Well, it's tough for all different levels, you know. There's some of them, I shouldn't think AJ or Tyson are going to be worried too much about it. It's the guys lower down, you know, the guys who are coming through, the mid-range, the fellas who, the journeymen and so forth. They're the ones who are all suffering. And the border control said no boxing until the end of May anyway. So, again, it's a moving target. They'll wait until... whenever it is, sometime in May, to decide whether we can do anything, if indeed we can do anything in June or July or later.
So with all that being said, what does your day-to-day look like at the moment? What's Frank Warren doing every day?
Well, what am I doing every day? Walking. Walk. I'm lucky where I live. I'm in the countryside, so I'm walking the fields. I go in the gym. I read a lot. I watch a lot of television. I listen to music. Speaking to a few people on the phone, calls and that's it. But business-wise, nothing. 'Cause there's no business to do. I can't. Our business is all determined by dates. And if you haven't got a date, you can't arrange anything.
It must be frustrating for you because you're not someone who likes to sit around generally. You are a go-getting personality.
Well, it's been quite a restriction, but you got at least touch wood at the moment. We're safe here, and that's really what it is. And we've got to do what everybody must do, and that's be sensible and not, and help ourselves, help to control this virus that's having a devastating effect on people's lives, livelihoods, and health.
We recently saw reports that the Tyson Fury Wilder third fight has been moved back all the way to October. Do you think that was the right call?
We don't know. Listen, it may not even go on in October. Who knows what's going to happen? Vegas is shut down. They closed down every casino. They've laid all the people off. Who knows when that's going to get up and running? And the Nevada State Athletic Commission, which is appointed by the state, have said no sport. I mean, zero sport. So who knows? Maybe it might be up and running in 3 months' time, 4 months, 5 months. All these countries are different. No one thinks this through, the logistics of it. So you look at most cards, most big events have international boxing events, fights on. Boxers coming in from other countries. Who knows what the positions can be in other countries, whether they can travel, whether they'll even be allowed in. No one knows. No one's got a crystal ball. No one can tell you what's going to happen at the moment. It is what it is. You got to put, something's got to be said, and if we can get it away in October, we'll get the rematch away in October. But that's a long way off at the moment. Please God that this thing doesn't last till October. Because if it does, I don't know where we're going to go with it, to be quite honest.
Do you have any concerns about Tyson? He's not always been the best with long periods of time off.
Well, he like everybody is, he's a realist, and every day he's putting out his Keep Fit video, which he's doing with his wife Paris, and the kids are getting involved. So he's keeping himself occupied. I speak to him a couple of times a week, and he seems in a good frame of mind. He was on Good Morning Britain yesterday talking, and he's done a great thing with the nurses or the NHS, providing water for them and so forth. Through one of his sponsorship companies. I think, is it Powell, I think they're called, or I'm not sure. I hope that's the right name.
Well Hydrate.
Well Hydrate. Well Hydrate. So he's done well. He sort of works on that. But he seems in a very good frame of mind. Frustrated like all of us, but it is what it is. Better to be frustrated than dead.
That's a good motto to have in these times, I think.
Yeah, it is, mate.
You mentioned about Tyson putting content out. He's not the only one. I believe you're in the podcast game now.
Yeah, I've done about 8 episodes now, Dan. I think it's 8 we've done, and they've been quite interesting. Tyson was the first one, which we did just before his fight in Vegas. I've had Piers Morgan on, John Burko. We've just done Dana White. I've just done Bob Arum one's coming out next week. We've done Ricky Hatton. We've done Piers Morgan. So we've had quite an assortment and guests with a different background, and we've got a couple more that we're putting next week, which are going to be good names as well. And it's quite interesting. I'm enjoying it. It's a bit of fun. I'm doing it with Adam Sandler. Adam Cattrall, Adam Sandler. I wish I was doing it.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah,
that would have got a few viewers or listeners. I'm doing it with Adam Cattrall, and we're quite enjoying it. It's been quite interesting. But Dana's one, the latest one, is very good, and Bob Arum's one's brilliant. You'll love it.
How do you go about choosing the subjects for it?
Yes, well, I know most of them, don't I? Everybody's on there, I know them. So I've got a basis of what we want to talk about, and then we get our heads together and we sort of make a little sort of rough agenda of what we'll go through, and then we sort of talk about it, and then something that come up that obviously expands into a different area, and it goes from there. But it's pretty loose, and everybody seems to enjoy it. John Burko's one was quite good, and Piers Morgan was good. A lot of things come out of it that I hope that people haven't heard before about their lives, which is quite interesting.
Have you got any dream guests? So people you haven't had on yet that you'd really like to get on?
The ones I would like to have got on there are dead. I'd love to have got a Groucho Marx on there. I mean, that would have been a brilliant thing, or a Dorothy Parker or something like that. That would have been fantastic, or a Winston Churchill, just interesting characters. But it's. I'm sure we're working on a few. We've got a couple of really good names coming up soon. So it's watch this space.
And just before we let you go, obviously safety of everyone and this pandemic coming to an end is paramount. But from a boxing perspective, what are your kind of key things that you'd like to do or see before the end of this year?
Well, I'd love to see Tyson get this fight away with Deontay Wilder, to get it on, I think he'd do the same thing again. But but if he comes through that, I'd love to have got the unification on with him and AJ. I think that's the fight all the Brits would like to see. And getting for example, getting Liam Williams in for his fight with Andrade, Jack Catterall, getting the winner of Ramirez unification fight, and all our other guys, and obviously the heavyweight fight between Daniel and Joe. I want to see that. That's a very highly anticipated fight that I was dying to see. It's there to get them on, and just hopefully keeping our fingers crossed, which we thought was going to be a brilliant year. We hope that let's hope it ends on being a really good year. I mean, it started off dreadfully.
Well, things can only get better, as I believe a band once said. So
they did say that. Let's hope that's the case. That's the way you've got to be. You've got to be optimistic. But if you can be safe and careful, then we'll all get through it.
Brilliant. Well, I really appreciate your time, Frank, and I hope this doesn't drive you too mad.
No, it's all. I'm just getting off the ceiling now. I will give you. Not at all, mate. Well, thanks a lot, and just keep everybody who's listening, keep healthy, keep well, and make sure you observe what the government are saying on this lockdown.